And we're live. Welcome to the Toy Soldier Cartel's Iron Man 40k event for 2021. I'm Mike from Objective Secured. I'm really thankful and pleased to be able to be here streaming today for the first of Toy Soldier Cartel's Iron Man events. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is a 5-round 40k tournament, and it's in one day. It's a very, very long day. So we've got about 2.5 hours each game, and we're going to be streaming all 5 of them today back to back. So by the end of the day, my voice is going to be absolutely shot. That's okay. So this is also pretty much my first attempt at trying this new streaming format and software. I haven't used this before. So hopefully you can see on the screen there the scorecard. Obviously you've got my darling face front and center as well. And yeah, we'll go from here. So I am also very fortunate that the guys from the Toy Soldier Cartel have given me access via Down Under Pairing, so I can talk about the lists, talk about the players, the missions, and so on. I even remembered my rulebooks to make sure we can talk about this stuff. So going into round 1. The mission we're playing is from the Grand Tournament 2020 book. It's not an incursion mission, Mike. Let's try that again. The mission is Surround and Destroy. And we've got Connor with his Chaos contingent versus Gary's Dark Angels. You know what? I think I might even have a TO free to come and join me for a second, so I'm going to call Courtney over. Courtney, do you want to move the barcode off the... and then come and sit down and join me for a minute? Maybe. We'll see. So, the boys are just setting up. Like I said, the round at the start of the... each round's only 2 hours and 30 minutes, so they don't have a lot of time. This is 2,000 points Strike Force missions. So it is quite... going to be quite a rapid-fire game. We're going to do our best to keep track of the primaries and the secondaries, but we can't promise that they'll be kept up to date. But we'll do our best, because we are obviously relying on the players keeping us up to date with those. So, I think we've got 30 people playing today. We had a couple of late dropouts, sadly. We're either 30 or 32. So the 5 rounds should give us a definitive winner by the end of the day, which is great. If you've ever played a tournament and you've had sort of 4 people undefeated, that can be a bit disappointing for players, particularly if they've gone 4 rounds undefeated and we could have had a final winner and we don't. So this way they actually guarantee a grand final, which is, I think, a really sensible suggestion. So while the guys are setting up, we might have a quick look at their army lists. Oh, hang on. I'm going to have Courtney join us, I believe. So Courtney's... budge over here. Courtney's going to chuck that on so he can hear himself. And then, because this mic stand can be quite tall, he can hold that. We'll turn him on for him. There we go.
Morning.
How you going, man?
Not bad.
All right, let's see if I can fix those levels. You're just too quietly spoken, Courtney.
I don't like to hear my voice, so...
All right, so we do have round 1. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me along. It's awesome.
That's all right. Thank you.
That's the camera right there if you want to talk to our... There we go. Did we get 31 today after the dropout?
Yeah, 31 after
so
the dropout.
So we've got one of the Toy Soldier Cartel members playing in as the ringer?
For now, and then he will swap with Alan as well, and they'll just keep swapping throughout the day.
Okay, cool. So we do have the full 32.
Yeah. It was important to actually have 32 players.
Oh yeah, for the way this whole sort of thing plays out, having the even numbers is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it may work with 30, but it worked out that if...
Well, there's a risk of having 2 undefeated at the end of round 4 if you do that.
Yes. If everything went smoothly, we'd still end up with a result at round 5, or we could have had the result at round 4, and then it was kind of like, why even play the 5th round? And it's just not something I was interested in doing, to be honest.
No, fair enough.
But yeah, see how it goes.
Yeah. We're sat in the kiddie corner here at the Cudale Tavern, and we have to say thanks to Shane and the boys at the QE for having us along for the day.
Yep.
We've kind of taken over their restaurant space.
Yeah, we've taken over a lot of their space, actually.
There is still a dining room on the other side, but I can't imagine wanting to come and sit in here for lunch today.
No. No.
So I think there's already some coffee's been poured, because it is an early start. I was down here at about 6:15 this morning. You were here before then.
Yeah, we got here at 10 to 6.
Yeah, I think I was getting a coffee at McDonald's at the time. Yeah, it's definitely been an early start today, and there's a few bleary faces in the room as well from that. So
yeah.
So what do we got? We've got Dark Angels versus Chaos for the first round here.
Yeah, looks
Gary's Dark Angels and Connor's Demons. I was literally just about to look at some of the army lists, so we can have a quick. And like I said earlier in the stream, thank you very much for giving me access so that I can go in and check out lists and share that stuff.
Makes this whole experience better, I guess, for the streaming if you had access to them. So
yeah. So I got Connor running. I believe it's a Chaos combined, so it's multiple detachments of Chaos.
Yep.
So we've got an Emperor's Children Patrol, Sorcerer, Lord Discordant, 10 Cultists, and then 10 Terminators and 9 Terminators. And then a Demons Patrol, Keeper of Secrets, with all of the upgrades in the world. And then a second Keeper of Secrets with slightly less upgrades. And then 20 Demonettes and 2 Fiends.
The second Keeper does still have the Forbidden Gem, so...
Yeah, well, that's true. Just doesn't have the Warlord trait.
No.
And I believe, yeah, they both did pick. So the first Keeper got Blessings of the Dark Prince, and the second one got Reflexes. And then we've got a third Patrol, which is Nurgle. This is a combined detachment, so it's a Poxbringer, 10 Cultists, and 5 Plague Drones, and then the Tallyman. And then he's got, 60-something points in reserve for summoning?
3 points.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
That was probably my mistake. It shouldn't be. It should just be 1997.
Oh, okay. So he doesn't have. Okay, so he's only got 3.
Yep.
Okay. I was just looking at the number going.
Because there was an error with the list, so I fixed it up with points, and obviously I just didn't type it properly.
No, that's fair enough. And then Gary's Dark Angels. Now, the Dark Angels, everyone's kind of been expecting these things to sweep in and take over the tournament scene. So it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out. So we've got I think it's a battalion? No, it's a Vanguard. So we've got Azrael, Ezekiel, a Blade Guard Ancient, 5-man Deathwing Command Squad, 5-man Deathwing Command Squad. Is it 5 or 4?
No, it's... don't.
Actually, for 85 points, it must be 2.
Command Squads are just 2, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Sergeant and a Dude. So there's 3 Deathwing Command Squads, and then a 10-man Terminator Squad, and then a Ravenwing Apothecary. Interesting little one there for the Ravenwing Apothecary. He has Inner Circle, and a lot of people miss that. So he can actually go in a Deathwing detachment because they don't work off the Deathwing keyword, they work off the Inner Circle keyword.
Right.
Which is bizarre. So
how do they... Does he stop them being OBSEC?
No, because he has the Inner Circle keyword.
Okay.
So it's a really weird little addition, but it works. I had it happen at First Blood. And then we've got an Outrider detachment, Primaris Chaplain on a bike, and then Black Knights, and then we've got 3 Outrider squadrons. So, interesting thing about this is, obviously those Deathwing Terminators, Thunderhammers, Storm Shields, Power Fists, Plasma Cannons, a whole bunch of good AP, high damage weapons, and then you've got Demons, which don't really give a shit about a bunch of that.
They do care about the damage.
Well, they do care about the damage, but the obviously a lot of the strength from those Dark Angels is going to come from those AP, from the Plasma Talons on the Ravenwing bikes.
Yeah.
I have to think those Outriders are going to be really good for dealing with those Demonettes and Cultists.
They should be, yeah.
Because they're 6 attacks each on the charge?
Yeah, they should kill them enough to then out-obsec them on an objective too.
Yeah. So I think this is ultimately going to come down to how well those Deathwing and the Ravenwing can withstand the charges of those Keepers and Demonettes.
Well, they're fast enough that they should be able to outmaneuver and theoretically charge first.
Well, it looks like... So for those of you who are watching with us, Connor's Demons are at the bottom of the screen, and The Dark Angels are at the top of the screen. So I'm just going to change screen so we can get a better look at it. There we go. So you can see the Outriders already starting to make a move towards the midfield there. Just touching the centre objectives there. But it looks to me like a lot of those Terminators have gone into strategic reserve for the Chaos, which means that we're going to see those 2 units of 10 Slaanesh Terminators deploy sometime during turn 2. So, and they will care about those Plasma Talons and those Plasma Cannons and Thunder Hammers and that sort of stuff. So,
it might actually be a bit risky, to be honest.
Well, there's a lot of line of sight blocking, so I would have probably deployed them.
Well,
or at least one of them.
I'm just thinking, there looks like there's quite a bit of movement in the Dark Angels to actually push the Terminators out.
Well, those I'm a bit surprised with the way those Deathwing Terminators have been deployed up the top left there. I mean, it's a massive blob of OBSEC sat there, but at the same time, they only move. Terminators are 5 inches a turn.
Might even be 4.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Off the top of my head,
I think it's 5. But they're not. I mean, realistically, in a 5-turn game, where are they going to end up by the end of turn 4 or 5? Maybe the midfield in that centre objective.
They can't redeploy, can they?
No, I don't think they've got a teleport option. So, I don't know, I feel like deploying them there might be a mistake.
The best thing you do is hope for a charge and get the extra distance.
But if you deployed them in the ruin up in the centre of the table, they're obviously not scoring that objective, but at the same time you can then use their infantry rule to move through that ruin and then threaten both the midfield objectives. So, I don't know, I feel like putting a 400-point block of Terminators and what looks to be several supporting characters in that corner is probably a mistake.
Yeah. So you suggested having them in the middle?
Yeah, I'd probably go midfield with them.
That way they can at least go wherever they needed to go.
Well, I mean, you've got those Deathwing command squads of 2 Terminators. If you really want to hold that back objective...
Yeah, they're good for that.
Chuck 2 of them over there and leave them there, because you've then got to kill 2 units of 2 Terminators.
Well, it's not like there's a lot of range from the Demons.
No, exactly.
Until the Terminators are in. And you could also screen that with the bikes so they could never actually shoot them.
Yeah.
So the only way they deal with 2 command squads is a Keeper, Demoness.
They have to send forces over there to really punch them.
Yeah.
The other thing that I probably don't agree with Gary's deployment is there's those 3 Outriders tucked away up in the top right-hand corner there behind that really big line of sight blocking building. Now, I get that they're cheap, relatively speaking, to hold that objective, but at the same time, again, you've got that Deathwing command squad that could easily just be sat there behind out of line of sight, and if you're spending 80 points to hold that objective the entire game, that feels like a really sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, obviously we can't see. There may still be 2 in there, but I'm not 100%
Well,
sure.
The interesting part is I can actually see that corner of the table live over here, so there's definitely no Terminators in there.
Fair enough.
So we are reasonably close to the table, but the tables here at the Cute Tavern are quite tall, which is great because it means you don't end the day with a absolutely ruined back. But at the same time, we're sat on a nice comfy couch at the moment. So, so it's, I think Gary's about to... Yes, Objective Secured is streaming, Gary. Thanks very much. There's a link on our Facebook page. Feel free to share that link around if you are watching us. We are going to be here all day streaming all 5 games. Whether Courtney's here for all 5 of them, it depends on how many of the TO duties he gets called away for.
Speaking of which, I think I might just take a
quick wander
and go see, make sure everyone's working on track.
No worries, man. I will. I'm also the official timekeeper for today, I think. I've got the stopwatch here for the big screen. That's all right, man. So, it's going to be an interesting day. If you do want to ask any questions or anything like that, you can chuck it in the comments. That's not a problem at all. Happy to answer anything if we can. I can see, obviously, Connor's Demons are slowly taking the midfield there. We've got a couple of the 2 keepers of secrets there. So it's definitely going to be an interesting game. We've got those plague drones in the middle there as well. and they look to be advancing Demonettes at the moment. So, I'll try and get comfy in the center of the frame here. Just realized how much of a reflection this TV is beside me, but that's okay. We're going to live with that. I might see if I can just adjust the camera very quickly to make it less reflective for you guys. All right, there we go. That works. We can do that. So if you're just joining us, welcome. We're out at the Cartel Tavern here in Perth, Western Australia for the Toy Soldier Cartel Ironman 40K event. 5 games, 1 day, 32 insane players. It's going to be a really long day, but we're going to be here all day. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me by the end of the day. We'll see how my voice holds out. Now, Connor's Demons are pretty well known here in WA in terms of, he was running some quite heavy Slaanesh lists in the early part of 9th edition, and then he's clearly adapted it off of the success of other Demons players like Mitch here in West Australia and Matt Morrisoli over in Victoria and his win at Uprising. There's a lot of similarities there. Matt in particular was running the double Terminator bomb. I believe he was only running 1 keeper in that list though. So, Connor obviously running the pair of them at the moment. I'm not the TO, mate. You might be out of luck. I would suggest grabbing Courtney. Grab Courtney, I'm not the TO. So it appears that Connor may have forgotten to deploy a model. And that model is the Chaos Sorcerer, which is a big deal. So I believe they're grabbing a TO for adjudication. I think the resolution has been there's a CP expenditure there to put him in as strategic reserves and come on from turn 2. Which, to be fair, there was a very real possibility that he could have just simply been destroyed. But I feel like in terms of sportsmanship and good form, I think like that's probably a good ruling just to allow that unofficial reserve to happen. I know there's plenty of events around the world and probably plenty of people who would watch this and go, nah, he's dead. But I feel like sportsmanship isn't necessarily as dead as that, which is great. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is Ironman 2021 here in Perth, Western Australia at the Cartel Tavern. We're going to be streaming 5 games of 40k today. So the question is, at this moment in time with Connor's army, he's obviously threatening those Outriders in the midfield there with the plague drones. Now, those ruins they're sat beside are 9x9, so I'm going to guess and say that charge is probably an 8 or a 9-inch charge, give or take, if he wants to try and make it turn 1. The danger with doing that with those plague drones is they're going to be left very heavily exposed to the rest of the Black Knights and the other Outriders that are just off the top edge of your screen, which is going to leave you in a position where you're basically trading those plague drones for 3 Outriders, and I don't necessarily think that's a great idea. So it'll be interesting to see whether Connor does go down that road of making that attack. I don't feel like he will, but you never know. I think we're in the psychic phase at the moment, just with those keepers casting a couple of things. I think we might have just had a perils happen there. Gary, was that a perils? I believe that was a perils. Yep, we got some damage happening to the Keeper of Secrets. So last power for the turn is Smite, going off on an 8. I think the closest unit at that point will be those Outriders. We're just going to check deny range. No deny. And just one wound on the Outriders, which you can kind of live with, particularly in exchange for the mortals on the Keeper. So the drones are going to have a crack at the Outriders. I think that's a failed charge that we're just seeing now with the plague drones. Oh, no, we are going to make it. That's going to be a fairly strung out charge, because even with the consolidates, we're probably only going to have 2 or maybe 3 to fight. And those Outriders are still 4 wounds each, I believe. I might chuck links to the army lists in the chat for you guys. It's always good to know exactly what's coming in terms of army lists and so on. Although I will admit it's actually really hard to do from from this far away from the screen. So just give me a second. I'll chuck those in the chat for you. There we go. Both of those lists are in the chat there now. If you're interested in checking those out, you can head to Down Under Pairings, click the links. We've got 3 saves from the plague drones, 2 damage each, killing a... we've already killed 1 bike and to put some wounds on the second. A lot of attacks coming in from those plague drones. I think they're a unit that it's very easy to miss in terms of the amount of output they have. I believe that in removing the model he did, it's meant that Gary doesn't get to activate and fight back because he's more than 1 inch away. And it looks as though Connor's chosen not to pile in. To consolidate, which is interesting because what it has done is it's 1 model each on that objective, so obviously that's contested it. I'm not quite at the advanced stage yet of being able to track their scores live, so we'll give them a bit of time and then we'll get a score update from them and I'll update it on your screens. I can tell I should have very much gotten a drink before I started the stream, but that's okay. We'll live with that. It'll be fine. So we've got those bikes now maneuvering around the outside of that ruin to essentially control it from the other side of the objective. I think Connor just realising he didn't consolidate there, which has cost him those bikes because he obviously couldn't wrap them, which meant that they've now been able to fall back. Well, they haven't even had to fall back. They've just been able to move freely to that back objective, which is great. I mean, not having to fall back means they can fire those bolt guns, act normally. Now, I think we've got the Black Knights now being manoeuvred into position. It's one of the really sensible things that Gary's done with this list, in my opinion, in that one of the biggest struggles a full Deathwing army has is its manoeuvrability and its ability to rapidly redeploy and engage quickly. Having these Black Knights and Outriders really adds something to the list in the early and mid-game to help control some of the table space and allow them to apply pressure to different parts of the table while the Terminators get into position. I do feel like those Terminators, that big Terminator blob is out of position at deployment, but at the same time, I suppose we'll see how that plays out for him in the mid and late game. So we've got more of the Raven Wing manoeuvring. Outriders have gone one side of the ruins, and the Black Knights have gone the other. So there's a lot of pressure being applied to the table, particularly to those two mid objectives by the Dark Angels. The downside to doing what he's doing is obviously those Demonettes are now in a position where they can charge those Outriders. And those 20 Demonettes do put out a lot of rend attacks. So 20 of them, I think, could be, 60 attacks? I think the 3 attacks each base. And even though those bikes got 4 wins each, I don't know they're going to enjoy that volume of attacks, and I'm sure there'll be buffs applied to those Demonettes as well. That being said, they are in the open, and there are some plasma cannons and storm bolters and things from those Terminators. Got some psychic happening now from Ezekiel. I think one of the first things this has taught me from a stream table point of view is I'd really like to be right up beside the table so I can see exactly what's happening, because it's quite interesting for me watching. I can see kind of half the table from where I'm sat, and so I can kind of see what's going on and interpret that for the tabletop. But it's I'm finding it very frustrating because I want to see what's actually going on right beside the table. So it's interesting. If anyone wants to, maybe we should do a GoFundMe for a GoPro that I can stream with, and I'm sure Emma would love that. Thankfully, I don't think she's in the chat to tell me no. So this looks like it's going to be a really important phase for the Dark Angels. We're going to see some of those Demonettes dealt with by some Terminator fire. We've got the Deathwing still at that back corner, but the Raven Wing really pressing the midfield. But we do still have a bunch of Terminators and things to deploy for Chaos. And it's still only turn 2. The guys have got just under 2 hours remaining, so we do have a lot to play out yet. You know it's going to be a busy one when they start producing those big dice trays. I'm just wondering whether that is actually Demonettes there. It's a bit hard to tell. Just getting a few messages wishing everyone the best, so We'll pass those on in the mid game. See what. Got the two players just asking me how much of them they can see. Connor, are those over there demonettes? I'm not. Yeah, they're demonettes. Cultists behind the building. That's what I thought. Awesome. The system works. Sort of. So the that building is obviously blocking a little bit of line of sight there, but we do have cultists behind that building in the bottom left. All right. Got some more firepower coming in now from the Dark Angels. We're going to see some demonettes start coming off by the handful at this point. A whole bunch of them already removed. I think there's only about 7 left. Plasma cannons from those Deathwing doing work there as well. Obviously being blast helps when those big squads of 20 start firing those first and then use the Storm Bolters to wrap up and kill the rest. I think we're down to about 5 after all the gunfire. And now we've got the Ravenwing Black Knights firing their plasma talons into the plague drones. Well, I think the conversation is just about overcharge at the moment as to what's going to happen. I'm still a bit confused as to what those Deathwing Terminators are doing. Sorry, one sec. Yeah, just a soft thank you. I'm very fortunate to have a have one of the TOs offering me a drink. I'm already feeling it 20 minutes in. So we've got some firepower now coming in. So I think this is Plasma Talons coming in now at the plague drones. So I think we've got 1 dead plague drone and 1 on 1 wound. They are 4 wounds each. They do take some killing, particularly since they still have the old Disgustingly Resilient. Going to wave here for the for the cameras. I'm going to make sure I get Alan over here on stream at some point because it was meant to happen on Alan's birthday. And Alan, being one of the founding members of the Toy Soldier Cartel, was going to come down on his birthday and help run this tournament. And I was reliably informed that day, because it was his birthday, there was going to be some drinks to be had. And then it didn't go ahead because we went back into lockdown for a couple of days here in Western Australia. So that's why we've been delayed a little bit with this event. So now we've got the Black Knights going in with their Corvus hammers into those plague drones. Gary being very sensible there in the way he's engaging that charge move. Oh, we actually lost 2 plague drones. Sorry, my mistake. And we took a couple of extra wounds as well. It's on YouTube. And there's a link on our Facebook page. Just getting queries as to where the stream is, so if you are just joining us, welcome. I'm going to try and get a score update momentarily. This is turn 2, so I'll wait until both players have had their turn 2, and we'll try and get a score update for you guys. Sorry? Yeah. I've basically... Connor, I've basically got the whole table. No, it's all good, mate. Just, this is quite new for players here in Western Australia, so we're just letting them understand what we can and can't see for those of you watching with us at home. So this is Black Knights now in combat up against the plague drones. Now the AP on these Corvus hammers isn't going to mean much, obviously, with the plague drones, but from memory they do provide a strength buff. So I think that'll be a very valuable thing because the plague drones are T5. We're definitely seeing plague drones die. All right, so we're down to 1 plague drone who is on 2 wounds. I think we're just seeing a sneaky Dark Angel trick. Connor saying there, right, it feels like he's facing Harlequins with some of the sneaky tricks. So this is obviously letting those Ravenwing basically fall out of combat. So avoiding some retaliation there. Those Black Knights go in, doing a bunch of work, and then disappearing from combat. Well played to Gary. I suppose it kind of highlights that putting those Deathwing Terminators in the midfield might have actually been a mistake, because it gives a good staging ground for those Ravenwing to do what he's doing. Only losing 1 model to morale as well for those Demonettes, which is a pretty big deal. Connor, did you only lose one Demonette then to morale?
Yeah, I rolled 5 and 6s for the rest of them. I know, beautiful.
What about the Plague Drone? He obviously passed.
Oh, yeah, Plague Drone. Plague Drone.
Yeah, there's only a single Demonette there lost in the exchange for morale, which is a big deal. Those 4 Demonettes being objective secured obviously can now move in, hide in that ruin, and contest that objective 4 on the left-hand side of the center screen there. Moving into Connor's turn 2 now. The Plague Drone obviously falling back to protect itself from the midfield, but obviously then exposing itself in a position where it's going to have to fight those Outriders. Thankfully, he's backed up by a Lord Discordant, who is probably going to make short work of those Outriders. So the net result there is probably a positive for the Demons. Gareth, how you going, mate? Alan has found the stream. Gareth, what was Connor's thought process on running the Nurgle detachment? Oh, there's my drink. Thanks very much. So So the Nurgle detachment's an interesting one because I feel like there's an opportunity cost there where when you look at the core of the list, you've obviously got that Slanesh Terminator Bomb with the Lord Discordant and the Sorcerer with Marcus Slanesh with Delightful Agonies and Prescience. That's all. I mean, the Discordant's just a good character with a couple of really good combo strats. The Terminators are there to, drop in turn 2 or turn 3 and provide some pressure. And the Sorcerer's there to help them. The Keepers of Secrets and the Demonettes are obviously just good early game advance charge. Have to deal with them, can't ignore them type monsters. I would assume the Nurgle Patrol is there to essentially provide some late game scoring that's just nice and durable, that can hang around without affecting the Slanesh detachment. So you obviously could have just run a mixed demon detachment and moved the cultists and things around and turned it into a demon detachment and a Chaos Space Marine detachment. But I'm going to guess and say that between Miasma Pestilence and the Plague Drones in particular, you don't want to sacrifice the Slanesh benefits. So it was probably a case of what am I willing to give up? And it feels like that's probably what happened, but we'll probably try and get one or both of the guys over to have a quick chat about their lists after the game anyway, if we've got the time. They've got about an hour and 45 minutes to go, and they're moving into the bottom of turn 2. So they're doing pretty well at the moment. I feel like they're on track to actually complete the game, but we'll see how we go. 2.5 hours feels like a lot when you first start, and then you blink and you've got an hour left and you're in turn 2 and there's a problem. But the guys are doing really well at the moment. They've taken 45 minutes, and they're a good chunk of the way through turn 2. I think we've got the Terminators deploying now. Unfortunately, the way the lighting is in this room, we've got that lovely dark shadow that runs smack across the middle of the table. Not much I can do about that, unfortunately, just because of the way the lighting is in the venue. We'll do our best. I think we're just trying to make sure we've got a deployment zone for those Terminators. Obviously, those bikes creating a big denial area there, so making sure that we're 9 inches away from those Terminators and 9 inches away from the bikes is proving a little bit hectic, particularly with that shipping container there. So I think this is the first Terminator unit dropping in. Now in position. So we've got an interesting position where we've got that the yellow Keeper of Secrets in the on that center objective on the right-hand side of the screen. In theory, it's threatening the Outriders if it needs to. It's probably too long a charge to get around that ruin at the top of the screen to get those Black Knights. And then we've got the two Fiends and the Blue Keeper in the midfield there threatening those Outriders. And unfortunately, that unit of Outriders in particular feels very high and dry. It's not been very well supported. The Terminators are too far away to really get in there and sort of make you question whether that's a good combat to make. Those Terminators are going to move 5 inches and then still probably end up with a 9, 10, 11-inch charge to get to the Keeper and those Fiends, particularly if they choose not to consolidate. So it's probably going to cost him those 3 Outriders in the midfield essentially for nothing, because that Keeper and those 2 Fiends probably just kill all 3 without too much effort. Do have some shooting going on. I believe that'll be Auspex scan going off. Auspex scan? Connor confirming it was indeed Auspex scan. Gary firing at him. Obviously, when you've got 10 Deathwing Terminators sat there, Auspex scan could be a very powerful tool because he has landed within 12. Connor. You know, Auspex scan's been a thing for like 3 editions now, right? Connor. It's a Space Marine thing, not Dark Angels. Yeah. Connor's saying that he's never had to deal with Auspex scan before in years of playing the game, so he's a bit shocked that it exists. So, you know, it's nothing quite learning like the hard way on a stream. Gareth says, only heard positive reviews regarding Dark Angel's new codex. Any drawbacks or bad matchups moving forward in the meta? I think that the Dark Angels are in a pretty good spot. It's going to be interesting to see how the middle of this game plays out, particularly with those Inner Circle Deathwing. I still feel like they're out of position, but maybe Gary's got some weird trick up his sleeve I'm not aware of. But having 500-600 points stacked up in that top left-hand corner of the screen just feels like a mistake to me. And as I say, I think because of the way they deployed, that's going to cost him those Outriders for no exchange. I do feel like the Deathwing, that sort of Inner Circle army list that you've seen a lot of people touting, is going to be a solid counter to a lot of meta armies where it just ignores a bunch of damage that it should be taking. But at the same time, with the introduction of the Drakari coming in, I feel like Inner Circle is also going to become less prevalent because we're going to see a change in the way people build armies to deal with that mass poison and mass attacks from witches and those sorts of units, where Inner Circle does nothing. So, I think that as the months go by, we'll probably have 6 months of, sunlight shone on the Dark Angels, and then we'll probably see them settle back into that sort of upper third of the army lists. Much like we'll probably have with the Death Guard. I mean, today we're not running the Dark Angel. We've got the Dark Angels and the Death Guard here. We don't have the new Drakari book. I said to the guys last night when they had the player drop, if they'd let me use the new Drakari book, I'd happily play, but they said no. So here I am streaming instead. I'm kidding, of course. I promised the guys I'd stream long before the Drakari announcements. But it is exciting to know that the Drakari are going to be an army that really does counter like the Inner Circle style Deathwing army, and to some extent it'll even counter the Death Guard, which is going to upset the game again, because now you can't just go along building a pure Inner Circle army, because if you do come up against a splinter spam, boat heavy Drakari army, they're just going to shoot you off the table with mass poison, where they don't necessarily care about Inner Circle, they're just delivering volumes of fire that are wounding you on 4s anyway. So I do think the Deathwing Ravenwing combo here is a really solid one. And I think Gary's clearly had some practice with it and knows a few of the tricks that he's got up his sleeve in terms of particularly that Deathwing, the Black Knights going in, killing most of the bloat drones, and then the plague drones, and then bailing back out of combat was a very clever move. So we've got some Chaos Terminator fire coming in now. Sadly, it appears that they didn't do as well as the Deathwing. Sorry, I think I've got that wrong. That was the Lord Discordant's autocannon being fired. We've got the Terminator fire coming in now. From the Bucketo dice. Got a lot of firepower from this unit. The question is going to be, does he play Veterans of the Long War? Does he play Death of the False Emperor? There's a few different things there that... and there's Slanesh, so they can fire twice. There's a few different things and combos that he can do with those to really get the most out of those Terminators. And the question is going to be, how much is he willing to commit to doing stuff with them? They're all obviously in rapid fire range as well, so there's going to be a lot of firepower come in. Bucket o' dice happening. I think there's just a question around death to the false emperor at the moment. So he hasn't played Veterans of the Long War. We've got 11 wounds with the combi bolters on those Deathwing. So we're probably looking at 1, maybe 2 damage on that Deathwing squad. 3 ones, so we actually lose a Terminator. So we do lose a lose a Deathwing Terminator to the combi bolter fire. Wind on 4s. You said 3s. It's one of those things that very easy to forget in the heat of the moment where you're rolling dice and you're playing it out that Inner Circle is still a thing. I've seen a few people complaining about Inner Circle. I actually don't think it's as bad as a lot of people think. Gareth says, seems like each new codex has a lot of counters to the previous ones. Could be a theme. It definitely could be a theme. I mean, ultimately, when you look back through the releases, the Space Marine and the Necron releases are actually pretty balanced, and some would, and me included, would argue that the Necron book was probably the better of those 2 books. And then we've sort of had, the Blood Angels and the Space Wolves, and those sort of supplementary things didn't really alter things too much. A lot of people claim that the Blood Angels were the next big thing, but I would still argue the White Scars are probably a better assault army than the Blood Angels in a lot of regards. Then we got the Death Guard, and obviously a lot of mixed reviews from that player base based on the changes to Disgustingly Resilient. I think the net result of that army is probably an increase in its abilities on the table, but at the same time, it's also a sidestep in durability. Mortarion certainly got a lot better, and I think that the new Army of Renown rules in the Book of Rust will be really interesting for them. So then we've obviously had the Drakari book now, and Drakari have always loved fighting demons and Tyranids and monsters and things where the poison means a lot. And if you look at the 2 armies on the table here, there's not a single vehicle between the 2 of them. It's all monsters and infantry and bikes and those sorts of things, which is where the poison just lives and does so much work. And I'm looking around the room now, and yes, there are some armies that have vehicles, and most of the Drakari armies will in turn be fielding Dark Lancers and Blasters and those sorts of things on vehicles and bikes. So they definitely have the tools to deal with those armies, but when you can put a couple of 100 poison shots down range, and obviously that number's fluctuated over the years. My Venom spam in 5th put out literally a couple of 100 poison shots a turn. It's probably less than now because of the changes to Splinter Cannons, but at the same time, the Splinter Cannons, I would argue, are probably a better tool now. That 2 damage and -1 AP really helped them. So, I suppose we'll see what the next books bring. God, that was a tongue twister. We know that Sisters of Battle are coming. We know the AdMech are coming, and to be fair, I would actually say the AdMech are a really good counter already to Drakari. They have a lot of weapons that help ignore cover. They have a lot of vehicles and stuff that don't really care about the Drakari poison. There's a lot of things in the AdMech that do well against Drakari, so it could very well be a pattern. We'll see. Josh says, Gary has only had the army for 2 to 3 weeks now. That's pretty bloody good. Particularly since it's all painted and on the table here today. That's pretty impressive. So kudos to Gary. I mean, we look forward to asking him what's going on. Although those Terminators making that charge is a big deal. Now, I don't think, looking at the deployment of those characters, I don't think there's going to be heroic interventions happen, which is a shame because there's Azrael and Ezekiel up there, which would obviously turn the tide quite heavily. So this is going to come down to a case of Storm Shields and Inner Circle versus the Lightning Claws and weaponry on those Chaos Terminators. And you've obviously then got Death to the False Emperor triggering in combat as well. It's got some pile-ins happening. All right. What are you fighting with? So what are they? Why are they getting an extra one from the charge? Oh, shock assault, hateful assault. I think they're only base 2, aren't they? So 4 attacks each. It's 36 attacks. It's a lot of lightning claws. I might just line up my scorer update. It's going to happen in a minute. He is popping Veterans of the Long War, and obviously Death of the False Emperor. Alan? This is turn 2 now. If you can just grab me the Cardinal at this course. Thank you. It's nice having a stream. You can ask people to do things and they just say yes. Who would have thought? Oh, I am being given the score at the moment. Sorry? So we do have a secret agenda taking place for the Dark Angels as well, because he's being a very sneaky man. So we've got a decent little score happening here at the moment. Yeah. So let's go in and edit this. So I'm going to put a little asterisk beside, thanks very much, Alan, beside Gary's secondaries, because he does have the secret agenda happening at the moment. So .39 combat wounds. That was with veterans and death. Was that death to the False Emperor and veterans? Oh, of course. Oh, reroll all fails. Oh, he's got the icon of excess as well, with a bunch of exploding attacks. Neg 2, 1 damage. Now, I think they're just going to save themselves the time and just use the dice. 39, we're probably going to see... What's that? 13, 14 fails. So we're probably going to lose between 4 and 5 Terminators. Oh, it's neg 2, sorry. So that's only saving on 4s. That's bad. That's going to be mass casualties. We'll see. It's four up invulnerables on the Storm Shields. And Gary playing it very cleverly here and correctly, I should be more accurate there, is obviously having to essentially slow roll it because there are wounded Terminators so that we're not... so that we know exactly when Terminators die. Particularly since we've got mixed weaponry here. Looks like there's quite a few saves happening at the moment. I'm glad there's no microphone over at the table because Connor's... It's all good. It's only this mic that's live, Connor. It's fine. Connor realising he's on camera at the moment. Now he's got a smile on his face. He's just killed a Terminator. Now we've just got the rest of the dice. How many did we lose is the question. Now we've got the Feel No Pain rolls happening straight afterwards. I'm actually just wondering, with it only being neg 2, why they've decided to separate them like they have, because the save's 4 either way. Just a conversation taking place with the saving throws at the moment and how that's going to play out. I think there's a slight discussion in regards to how the Feel No Pains interact with those Storm Shields. Why are you rolling the save separate? They're all 4+. How? How are they 3s? Storm Shields are 4s. Oh, yes. Yeah, 3s, yeah. All right, we got it now. We do have slightly different saving throws happening because of the Storm Shield's buff to their armor. So... So we lost, I think, both the Storm Shields. I think this highlights exactly why the Chaos book needs an update. It's their Terminators are, chalk and cheese. It's a real shame. So we got basically 2.5 kills there out of the Terminator squad. So we're now going to have the Terminators, the Deathwing now pile in and fight. Now this will be interesting as well because these Terminators will obviously get shock assault because they were charged, waving around power fists. But I think he's actually starting with the Outriders. I think he's spending 2 CP to interrupt so those Outriders get to swing before they die. Certainly looks like what he's doing. And they are now bailing out of combat. The problem he's got with those bikes is he can't. He's going to make sure he's more than 3 inches away. Because obviously those that play drone will still get to activate, and if he's not more than 3 away, the Hellstalker will as well. So they really do need to get out of dodge, basically. So I think he's going to go down and contest the bottom objective. There's a lot of measuring going on to make sure what they're doing. So we've got the Fiends fighting the bikes in the center there. Looks like the Keeper failed its charge. Good thing. Seems like sitting here behind the camera is a lot of people offering me drinks. It's always a good thing. Okay. Derek saying, yeah, Storm Shield's 1+1, so they should have been 3s. So dangerous to charge Deathwing now that they have +1 to hit for standing still. Absolutely. Those Deathwing yet to swing back. I think we're still going through some of the Slanesh combats, obviously because they strike first. I'm assuming that those Outriders down on the bottom right-hand corner are more than 3 inches away from the Lord Discordant. It's a bit hard to tell with the angle here because obviously with the Lord Discordant having charged, he's still going to get to activate. So he could very well, if he's within 3.9 inches, he can still get in and fight and kill. So I hope Gary and Connor realise that. And hopefully they've measured it and already agreed that he's more than 3 inches away. We'll find out. Just over an hour and 15 to go in the first round here. Turn 2 seems to have bogged them down. It's taken them about half an hour to get through to this point. And obviously this is now Connor slowly chipping away and a bit of a miscalculation on the Outriders for damage and a bit of back and forth there on whether that model lives or dies. But I think we've finally settled on him dying. I might just... Connor, I'm just going to let you know that I can see your password on your phone. When you... It's your work phone? It's his work phone. I just thought I'd better let you know. Yeah. Security, internet security at its finest there with a camera pointed at his mobile phone. Another person offering me drinks. I should do this more often. It's great. So I think we've now got the making sure what the Deathwing are gonna do there. Gary just one of the advantages of obviously being on camera is that your opponent can leave the table briefly, and it's all on film. So this is the bike, the lone outrider fighting those fiends. Just had the gonna have to adjust the camera at the end of the game. A little bit of a bump and a knock here and there. It's par for the course. I've even got the heavy duty cables and stuff today, so was hoping that we'd get a bit more stability. And while we are getting that, sometimes people's feet get in the way, and here we go. We get some camera shake. Josh says I charged the Deathwing with a knight once and did 1 wound. Yeah, when you start dealing with those big, heavy hitters that inner circle impacts, you're dropping from essentially strength 8 to strength 4 because of inner circle. So instead of winning on 2s, you're winning on 4s, and then at neg 2 with storm shields, you're still only, they've still got a 3-up armor save, and then D3 damage with an apothecary lurking around. Yeah, you could bounce off them. It's quite a scary prospect. But at the same time, it's one of the reasons why I think that the Drakari volume of fire, particularly from splinter cannons and disintegrators, less disintegrators, but certainly splinter cannons, is a great counter to Deathwing. So we've now got some power fists swinging here at the Terminators. I think we've just seen those Terminators. Yep. The Deathwing proving to be not only resilient but more than capable of punching above their weight. 400 and something. We've also got the Ancient there buffing them. Yeah, lots of stackables on that, particularly with Azrael, Ezekiel, the Ancient, the Ravenwing Apothecary. Huge amount of impact there. I think we're just checking morale for that Ravenwing bike in the middle of the table. It looks as though that Lord Discordant didn't activate. Neither did the bloat drone, which is interesting, or the plague drone. I might just get a clarification on that from one of the TOs. Yeah, so just having had a quick chat there to the TO, it does appear like Connor could have completed the activation of that Lord Discordant and then piled in and fought those two Outriders. But we did see the Ravenwing Outrider in the midfield there against those Fiends fail as leadership and be removed. So, you know, silver linings. You trade a Terminator squad for an Outrider squad. I don't know if that's a good exchange, but it is what it is. And it's those sorts of little errors, particularly when you've made a charge for that unit, you've got to remember that even though something might have moved away, if you've charged, you still get to activate, you still get to pile in, you still get to consolidate. And if that Lord Discordant had wanted to, he could have at the very least boxed in and tagged those two Outriders with the pile in and consolidate. And according to the TO, he probably would have been able just to pile in and then fight. So I don't think I missed a combat phase there. I think what happened was after that interrupt happened, both players seem to have forgotten the fact that both those units charged. It's a bit hard to tell, but I'll ask them post-game. In turn 3 now, with an hour and 8 minutes to go. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is game 1 of the Toy Soldier Cartel's 40k Ironman event for 2021. 5 games, 1 day, 2,000 points, Strike Force, using the GT 2020 mission pack. So it's been a very early start to the day, but and it's going to be a very long day. I'm going to be joined by Emma this afternoon for the finals on the top table here. And we're going to have 5 games across the day for you to watch and enjoy. So we've got those Outriders now moving around the outside of that building to come out and engage. It's a bit of a gamble because obviously you've got the that objective now uncontrolled. And you may be in a position where, if you're Gary, you might say, well, I'm okay to give that up because I'm going to be applying pressure to other parts of the table and then potentially taking something off you by doing certain things. He does have those 2 Outriders on the bottom objective. And at the moment, there's only a couple of Chaos models down there stopping him. Connor, what are those 2 Chaos models? What are the 2 little Berserker dudes down the bottom there? They are cultists, so it is. So these are. Oh, here we go. We'll show it off to the camera. These are Blood Reavers from Age of Sigmar, but he has put auto pistols and stuff on them. So we do have little Chaos cultists here. They have guns. Why are they Khorne? Why are they Khorne? Yeah.
So I had them for my Khorne army for Sigma.
So that they are his Khorne army for Sigma. He's realised he didn't have enough cultists, and so his Khorne army for Sigma had some weapons chopped off and replaced with auto pistols to make sure they were legit. So we do have a couple of cultists down there, which means they're contesting at the moment, obviously being OBSEC. They won't last long in front of those Outriders, though, I imagine. So looking at the table, what I'm assuming is about to happen is we've now got the... You can't really see them on the screen, but we've had the Black Knights move across the top of the screen from that middle ruin, and they're now controlling that top right objective just outside of camera because the guy's knocked the camera. We've then had the Chaplain on bike move to the center there for his aura, and we've had those Outriders move from behind that objective out to put their bolt guns out into action. The Terminators are consolidating their position, and we've now got some of the command squads manoeuvring on the table. Connor just saying there to his opponent, he's only got 9 more Terminators to come. But I think he'll be looking for a softer target than that Deathwing blob. Punch something that's not a Deathwing this time.
Pardon?
Punch something that's not a Deathwing this time.
On average, normal attacks kill 4 models.
Yeah. The Deathwing proving how tough they are, and Gary rolling a bunch of 3+ saves. So we do have some Deathwing command squads landing as well, and helping to claim some objectives. Now, I'm 90% sure that the secret agenda is the teleport one that the Deathwing have, which would explain why those command squads are here. We've now got those Outriders moving at the bottom of the screen there, putting themselves in a position to deal with those cultists. Now, there are some cultists on the other side of that wall as well, so Gary's going to have to be careful about how he manages those. Because if Connor's smart, he can actually be denied a charge here. Excuse me. I think that was the last command point there being used to avoid a peril from Ezekiel. Keeper of Secrets denying a power that he's not 100% sure what it did. I always love seeing that from players. I've got to deny I'm going to use it. I don't care what it does, I'm denying it anyway. Actually, the Dark Angels have some really good psychic powers up their sleeves, so denying anything is, if you've got the opportunity, is a good thing with them. And he's only, I think, 3 casts on Ezekiel, 2 or 3. So, the 2 Keepers of Secrets dominating that midfield there. At least one of them's in deny range. So I think this is now going to be the Outriders at the bottom of the screen into the cultists. So it looks like 2 have gone through. Only loses 1. And that was one of those weird situations where you'd actually want to lose both and take the 2 from the front, so that at the end they're not getting charged. Although that being said, the 2 at the front are what's contesting the objective at the moment, so you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Which will obviously see those 2 Outriders charge those cultists, and that's... what's that, 13 attacks between those 2 bikes, and that probably spells the end of those cultists, depending on how many are left. So we've got the 3 Outriders now firing into that remaining drone. I believe that was the chaplain. Yep. And now we've got the... well, I think basically what we're seeing here is the Space Marines applying their bolter fire to the soft targets, which is obviously a really sensible thing to do. It's how those Keepers are going to be handled. And obviously I think Connor will be a lot more wary of those Deathwing. You know, you could be forgiven for being a bit brave and presumptuous with those Keepers to just go, oh, they're only Terminators, I'll just murder them. But having now just seen them obliterate the Chaos Terminator squad, I'm assuming that Connor would be a lot more cautious around how he engages those Terminators. And that was kind of my thought process at the start of the game with why I would have deployed them more centrally. Would have given you the opportunity. You don't need cover for them. You deploy them central, you march them out in the middle of the table turn 1, and you put yourself in a position where you could draw out both keepers for a charge, tank the hits, potentially, and particularly with your Azrael and Ezekiel and the other characters supporting them, and then deliver death blows to one or both keepers in short succession, and potentially control those two midfield objectives and push everything back. The Terminators, with just combi bolters and stuff, as we saw, didn't really have an impact on those Deathwing. So I think you could have afforded to be really quite aggressive with them, and instead what we've got is the Chaos Army losing models hand over fist, but at the same time, if you look at the positioning, we've got two Outriders at the bottom of the screen on that bottom right objective. But other than that, the Chaos Army has kind of forced a wedge up the middle of the table and split the Deathwing from the Ravenwing. Now, those Ravenwing are rapid enough to redeploy, but if they do that, they actually give up one half of the table straight to the Chaos Army and then potentially expose themselves to those demons in the crossing the table. So it's a little bit of a precarious position if those keepers get hold of those bikes, because at that point the Terminators aren't going to be fast enough to catch the keepers. So it looks really positive in terms of kills and controlling the table for the Deathwing to some degree, but I also think it's a bit more precarious than it might otherwise appear, just because you've essentially got the Dark Angel split in two. Just, I think, seeing the last of those, last of the Demonettes there. Azrael. So Azrael killing one of those fiends. And this is the kind of what I was hinting at, is the those Deathwing are essentially in a position where they, even on a turn 4 and turn 5 move in advance, because Gary went first, they're kind of stranded there now. Now, we've obviously got that Sorcerer tucked away at the back there who's walked on. Thanks to the TO ruling after Connor forgot to deploy him. So they're just managing now the Heroic Intervention range to make sure that... and I think that's really good, positive behaviour from both players, with one saying, I want to make sure I'm avoiding Heroic Intervention, the other going, yep, let's make that happen, if possible. So they've worked together to ensure that the intent of both players is clear and reasonable. So we've just seen those cultists all but killed. I think we've got one still alive in the squad. I think that's it, though. It looks like the those Outriders failed their charge against the bloat drone. Yep, we are into Connor's turn. So we've got the Lord Discordant there making his way up to those Outriders. And I'm assuming that Keeper of Secrets is about to come wandering up just outside of camera at the top right there. You can see one of the Terminator bases just clipping in because the boys knocked the camera. So that Keeper is now in a position where it can charge the Black Knights and or the Terminator squad. Sadly, it is just out of frame. I might very quickly just adjust the camera. They just knocked it. They kicked it. All right. Hopefully that it's not perfect. And I think the part of the issue we're having is the tables that we're playing on today are probably a meter off the table. Like they're quite high. They're sort of above my waist height. And despite that, the frame that I've got goes up about 2.2 meters. So I can't quite get the camera high enough over the table to get the entire table. So we're just going to have to live with it, and you're going to have to trust me. So you can, however, see the Deathwing Terminators one of the command squads, just at the top right-hand side there on the objective. And then just above that, you can see the... I don't think she quite creeps into frame. There is a Keeper of Secrets. Yeah, sadly, it looks like that Keeper of Secrets is just going to sneak out of frame. We'll try one more adjust. No, we're not going to be able to get it to work. So if you have a look at the ruin in the top right-hand corner, where that white line for the top of the ruin is, you can just see the tip of a wing from the Raven Wing Black Knights there. And I think you can just see a couple of the tendrils off that Keeper of Secrets poking out just near those two Deathwing Terminators up, again, top right-hand corner. Unfortunately, there's not much else I can do with the camera, so of course it's all happening at the very top corner where you can't see anything. It's always the way. But we'll do our best. So we've got those Terminators now in the midfield there. Looks like they're splitting fire, and we've obviously got that Lord Discordant involved as well. Autocannons, bolters. We've got a bunch of split fire happening between the different bike units. So we've got 8 combi bolters now firing down into the Outrider, the lone Outrider down in that bottom right-hand corner. He is OBSEC, so he does need to go. Now, if Connor can kill that Outrider, and then between the Lord Discordant and the Keeper and that sort of concentration of Chaos Forces on the right-hand side there can deal with those Outriders and bikes, we end up in an interesting position where the Chaos Army probably wins the game over the next couple of turns, just simply because those Deathwing can't maneuver fast enough, and he'll lose on the scorecard, essentially. It'll ultimately come down to whether the Chaos can clear those bikes. At the very least, the Outriders, the Bike Chaplain, and ideally the Raven Wing, the Black Knights that you can't quite see off the top right-hand corner of your screen, where the Keeper is poised to charge. If you can remove that maneuverability out of the Dark Angels army, we're in a position where the Chaos can kind of play a little bit cagey and be in a position where they don't engage on turns 4 and 5 and just outscore the Dark Angels. Because at the moment, the Dark Angels hold... Well, in theory, they hold 3. Now, the Deathwing one in the top left-hand corner, you don't even want to go near or try and contest. And I think that Fiend moving over that way, I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have moved it around the back of the objective, the black objective 4 in the middle of the table, and actually claimed it on the other side of the building in an effort to basically get out of line of sight and hold it. Because I think throwing yourself needlessly at a couple of Deathwing Terminators does nothing for you. And kind of push the opportunities that presents you to have with, just outscoring in the later turns. We're in turn 3 now. We've got about 45 minutes to go. This is definitely winnable by the Chaos Army, as long as they can clear the Raven Wing. And then, like I say, you could play it a little bit on the KG side and potentially just outscore it through turns 4 and 5. So it's going to be an interesting one. It's certainly a lot closer than it might appear, just because of the positioning of the armies and whether it was intentional or not. The splitting of the Dark Angels by the Chaos kind of going up the middle has meant a really interesting dynamic shift, where the Deathwing, there's 500, 600, 700 points parked over in that corner between Ezekiel, Azrael, the Terminator Squad, the Ancient, the Apothecary. Like, there's got to be 700, 800 points up in that corner, which are having minimal impact on the table. Whereas we've just seen the Chaos Terminator Squad go into those Outriders. We've got the Lord Discordant up there in the Chaplain. We've had the Keeper of Secrets, which you can't quite see, it's just off frame, charge the 2 Deathwing Terminator Command Squad models. Unfortunately, the Outrider down the bottom did survive, but the Sorcerer appears to have gone into combat there. Now, Connor's in a position where he's going. I believe Gary's out of command points. Gary, you got any command points left? No command points left. So that does mean that Connor doesn't have to be careful in how he selects things. He can just go in whichever order he feels like. So we've got the Lord Discordant going to fight first against the Chaplain. Now, again, depending on what the Lord Discordant combos with, he can be quite brutal in regards to his combat output. So I think we've got a massive attacks, and we did get an explodes there from Death of the False Emperor. Winning on 3s with the Chainglaves. I suspect this Chaplain's about to have a bad day. So Chaplain's got 6 saves to make at -2/2 from the glaive. And then I believe the monster still has to fight, doesn't it? The Hellstalker itself?
Sorry?
Does the Lord Discordant's mount fight as well?
Yeah. Lord Discordant's got like so many attacks.
So we did, however, see that Chaplain just melt. So this is, since Courtney sat beside me again, hang on. This way, hopefully, if you hold it by that, hopefully we won't get, because this was giving some feedback. There we go. So, I don't think I've ever seen you without that hat on, or at least a hat on.
Yeah, I guess it's a comfortable thing. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, I was saying earlier that we ended up in a situation where the Chaos basically drove a wedge up the middle of the table. And it's forced all those Deathwing, that big blob of Deathwing, plus all the characters, it's about 800 points worth of models, up into that top left-hand corner. And then it's allowed the Demons to essentially push to the right, splitting the Raven Wing off, denying them the support from the Deathwing, and then at this point in time just punish them unit after unit after unit for essentially very little in the way of trade.
Yep.
And while I think at the time Connor deploying that Terminator squad and then charging the Deathwing Terminator squad, he felt he was going to win that combat, I think inadvertently he actually still did the right thing because it corralled those Deathwing in that top objective, and I think that those Deathwing not being in the midfield is just going to cost Gary the game.
Yeah,
because
probably. There's actually, walking around the room, there's a lot of people who have deployed large squads of Terminators in the top corner.
Really?
In a corner, yeah.
That's an interesting one. So what it looks to me like is we're going to have a position where you're going to have those demons force the Ravenwing back and off those objectives, and they're going to have a handful of cultists on the bottom left objective. I think the Fiend on the left-hand flank going into that squad of 2 Deathwing is just a mistake. You're not going to achieve anything. You're going to die. It would have been better, instead of moving to the left and charging, I would have moved to the right, looped back around that middle where the middle objectives are, and looped back around out of line of sight on the objective.
Yeah.
And forced that way.
Do we know what the Dark Angels secondaries are?
I know one of them is a secret agenda, which is why I've got the little asterisk on the scorecard yet, because there were only 2 listed in the secondaries on the ITC app they were using.
Yep.
And there was nothing in it when I got the last score update. So,
is that the one where they just pick a unit to hold an objective up?
No, there's a few different things you can. So you can spend command point. I believe it's a stratagem that lets you make one of your secondaries secret, and then you note it down. You note down what you're doing, and
because I'm wondering if that's why the Deathwing haven't left. Maybe they're sitting on that objective in the top corner because they get it exponentially
a compounding benefit
if they hold that objective the whole game.
It could be, yeah.
So then he just kind of guaranteeing 15 points at the end of the game.
The danger though that he's got, if you look at the way the table's laid out, you've got the Raven Wing in the top right that are just outside of camera frame, holding against the Keeper of Secrets that you can just kind of see poking into the camera frame. You've got the Deathwing in the top left. The midfield, you've got a bloat drone on the right and nothing on the left. And then you've got cultists on the bottom left, and then you've got a sorcerer versus 1 outrider, which obviously the outrider controls because he's OBSEC.
Yeah.
Is he OBSEC?
If he's in a Raven... yeah, they get Raven, yeah.
But I thought that was only if your Warlord was in that detachment.
Isn't it as long as your detachment's made up only of Ravenwing?
I don't know.
I don't actually know, to be honest.
I know that if you've got a pure detachment, there's benefits.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's come into my head that it's a Warlord thing, but maybe it's not. Feel free to comment in the chat and let us know. So this is the bottom of... oh, Jesus. No, apparently not. No, not at all. I'll fix that.
That's too far.
It'll do. It'll do. It'll do. Thanks, Al. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Like I said earlier, this is one of those things where players here in WA aren't necessarily used to playing on stream, and so moving around the technology is a new thing.
Yeah, so I think going back to the discussion we were having, is I think you're right. Even if he has picked that secondary and it's secret, I think the primary from Connor will outrun him.
Yeah.
And will be worthless at the end of the game anyway. His secondary will be...
I mean, we've just seen Connor during that sequence. Where did that outrider go? Did he die? Down in the bottom.
He's still there. If it's bottom right, he's still there. Oh, hang on.
No, he's running away. So
yeah, because there's two different screens.
We've got a little bit of delay between. So the live one's on the left and the delayed one's on the right. So, but the delayed one's got a better image. So. So yeah, we've seen him disengage just so that the sorcerer doesn't get to kill him, which is sensible. And the fact that
I gotta go.
Yeah. The fact that that sorcerer did survive, and that we're kind of in a position where the demons didn't quite capitalize and kill everything, might mean that the Dark Angels can hold out and actually score this. But we'll see. I'm going to have to clearly fix the camera in between round 1 and round 2, but that's okay. All right. I think we've got another rules query happening here at the moment. So from the sounds of it, it appears like there was a weapon range that was an error. From the sounds of it, it's the plasma cannon. And it appears like it was being played at 48 inches rather than 36. And because of the target priorities that were taking place at the time, it means that there were multiple chaos models impacted over multiple turns that would not have died because those plasma cannons would actually have been out of range. Now, from the sounds of it, and I'm only hearing partial comments, I think it's going to mean that that cultist unit wasn't destroyed. It's a bit hard to make out. There's a lot of noise background here in the room. Gary being a true sportsman and acknowledging the error. It is going to change the score slightly, but I feel like so it is going to change the primaries because it's going to change who holds more, basically. So they're just doing a quick reset in terms of what would take place. Right, I think they're resolved now. Just doing a another little update there with the camera after the collision. All right. It's definitely going to be a close game. Always love seeing Alan's fingers in the frame there as well. But you know what? We're going to live with it. At least until the end of this game when I can adjust it. So, we've now got the keeper, the blue keeper moving over. And just off the top of the frame, behind that middle building, you can see the other keeper of secrets chasing down the Raven Wing. We've got the Lord Discordant going over there as well. It certainly appears like Chaos now holds all three objectives on the left-hand flank. The right-hand flank. They also at the bottom left. So, you know, obviously we're now denying Dark Angel's primary points consistently and reliably. So, the question is now, did Gary do enough in the early parts of the game to ensure that he controls enough points to hold out on this when we've got about 26 minutes to go? And I believe we're in turn 4 now. Whether it's too little too late for the Chaos is a big question. I might try and get a score update. If I can grab someone to come over and do it for me. I don't want to interrupt the players. We'll try and get a full score update. I believe we had a situation where the secret objective was the teleportarium one, as I mentioned earlier. Might just grab my Codex Dark Angels and see if I can find it. Although having just said that, I don't know that the secondaries are in the app.
Alan, can you do a score update?
Here we go. So, what are we at? All right, there we go. So, score at the moment 56-40. Halfway through turn 4, so we do have a few points still to go in for the game, but definitely in Connor's favour at the moment. Connor having maxed primary actually makes it a bit risky for him because he's now going to have to focus on getting secondaries, and he's not that far in front of Gary at the moment. All right. I think I'm going to be having to mark out the floor and tape down the floor at the end of this game because the guys keep kicking the camera. So we've got the We've got one of the keepers into the Ravenwing Black Knights. We've got another keeper that's now fighting the Deathwing. We are seeing some Deathwing die now to that Keeper of Secrets. Just over 20 minutes now remaining in the round. So Gary still can claw this back. It's not going to be easy for him, but he definitely can. So it looks like we have lost quite a few Terminators in that exchange. From the looks of it, 4 maybe? T5. The bike's a T5, not T4. Three wounds from the keeper on the bikes, on the Black Knights. 4, sorry. No, we lost 4 Black Knights to that Keeper of Secrets. Now we see the power of the Keeper of Secrets. And there go the last of the Black Knights. That's pretty significant because we now have an unwounded Keeper of Secrets just out of frame. You can just see its claws poking into the shot at that top ruins. And that might be all she wrote. Connor only 11 points ahead. 11? No, 16 points ahead, sorry. But rapidly denying the Dark Angel's ability to score points by sort of forcing them back into that corner. Even if the keeper, one or both of the keepers dies, we end up in a position where the Dark Angel's really going to struggle to score any more points, particularly going into turn 5 with just under 20 minutes to go now. You know, they hold 3 objectives on the right-hand side. They hold the bottom one on the left. The midfield's not being held, but that doesn't really matter on the left-hand side. And then obviously the Dark Angel still hold the right-hand side topmost objective. But it's probably not going to be enough. He's going to score... he might manage 40 out of primary, but unless Gary's got a bunch of points hidden away in secondaries, it's going to be a hard slog for him to catch this. He may do. He may do. We shall see. I believe we have one of the command squads down the bottom there engaged with the cultists. So I think we're just resolving that combat before we move into the final turn. Yeah, I can't see the secondaries in the app, which is a bit frustrating. Makes it hard to use the app from Games Workshop without actually having the list of stuff there. And I obviously didn't bring the hardback book, which makes it even more tricky. So here we are. I can't find it anywhere. I think there's a conversation happening at the moment about the chess clocks as well. I believe Gary has about 3 minutes for his final turn, which should be enough. I don't believe they're using Death Clock, particularly since it looks like they're going to finish turn 5 pretty comfortably. But I guess we'll find out in a minute. All right. I think the majority of Gary's turn is going to basically be resolving the Terminator combats, and that's going to be that. I don't think there's too much more that Gary's going to be capable of changing the table. And to be fair, Connor's in a similar boat where Gary's primary, he's definitely not going to max it. It's going to come down to the secondaries. Just going into the tournament screen here for one of the TOs. There we go. Just doing my part to help. Anyone who's ever TO'd an event before will know that it's a long task. If anyone thinks that running an event is easy, I would strongly suggest you go and try and run anything over about an 8-player event, and it gets hard really quickly. And having the support network around you is really important. So 32 players in the room. We've got one active TO and one spectator cross secondary TO. And obviously that's partly because one of the three organisers had to step in and play ringer today. So they've given me some access in down under pairings to help them out in regards to keeping an eye on the scoring and the timings and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, going to help out where I can. So we've got some combats now onto that keeper who's hanging in there. We've got the Keeper of Secrets now about to swing at the Terminator squad. Six wounds, neg 3, 3 damage. This is potentially the death knell of those Terminators. So we've got 3 failed saves. What did we get? I think we lost 2 Terminators in that exchange because of the Feel No Pains. I don't believe there's a death clock. I don't believe so. Check with Courtney, but I don't believe. So I believe that we've just seen Gary hit time, but I'm not 100% certain because it's obviously not my event. I'm not 100% certain what happens in regards to the time management side of things. Let's see if I can grab a players pack and take a quick look. Well, they were just asking what happens when they clock out. That's what I'm just looking up. I'm just looking up the players pack. I'm just going to try and find the players pack. So I'm going to publish a link to the Facebook event in the chat now. So if you want to go and download the players pack and go and check out what's going on with any other Toy Soldier events. It's one of the beauties of being able to do this via a stream. We can get access to things straight away. I am... okay, so point number 8. If you run out of time, the following penalties apply. Most players find themselves unable to act at all. If you have any actions to make, they must be done as quickly as possible. Okay. I better let the players know. Guys, there is a death clock, but it's not a death clock. No, as in you can't do anything. Yeah. Okay. I think both players are aware of what's going on, which is great. Someone else has found them a players pack before I found it, which is perfect. Yeah, but it just has to be done as quickly as possible. So he does get to roll saves. It's not not a death. He still takes save and morale, but you can continue to score primary and secondary, but you can't. Obviously, if you fill the requirements, but otherwise you can't. So. All right. I think they're just going to wrap this up now. It'll be interesting to see what the final score is. I do honestly believe that the that middle section of the game where we were able to see the demons split the Dark Angels half of the army straight down the middle is probably what's going to have won him the game. So... all right. With 8 minutes to go, I'm assuming Connor's final turn won't take too long. We've obviously got the Lord Discordant now moving towards the bottom of the table where there's that Deathwing Command Squad. Just trying to clear him from the objective. And there must be a secondary tied to it of some description. That is game over. So we're just going to, I'm going to let the guys score it very quickly. We've got some Raise the Banners scores happening as well here. Oh, no. No, there is a secondary tide, so we are going to have a double keeper on Terminator fight up there because there is a secondary attached to it. So the guys are going to have to resolve it. Yeah, they're just scoring it up now, so we'll have an answer in a second. Hang on. All right, that is game now. Let's see what the actual result was. Connor, do you have a result? What's the result? 80 to 55 are in favour of the Chaos. You did get all 5 turns? 90 to 65. So there you go. I'm just going to update the final score now. Gary, what did you score on the primary? I think 45? All right. So there we go. That is the final. 90 to 65, final score. So Connor nabbing the victory there. Well done to him. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll post a new link in on our Facebook page. We'll be back for round 2 shortly. In the meantime, I'm going to pull the camera down and reset it to try and get a better frame for everyone for game 2. We will see you. Oh, hang on. It's there. I'll just pick one of those, then that'll be fine. Okay. Thanks very much for staying with us. We will be back shortly with game 2. In the meantime, we'll see you soon.